Anyone who believes in indefinite growth on a physically finite planet is either mad or an economist.
We don't want to focus politics on a notion that involves the rejection of principles around which a large majority of our fellow citizens organize their lives.
We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think.
The RSA has always been a progressive organisation. We've been around for 260 years, and as the world has changed many times over, so has our account of progress and the contribution that we might make to it. Tonight I'm speaking to the latest account, a new worldview and mission. We call it the power to create. My argument is that we are at the cusp of an unprecedented opportunity. Powerful social and technological change means that we can now realistically commit to the aspiration that every citizen should live a creative life. But this major step in human progress will not happen unless we're able to identify and to seek to remove the high barriers that currently stand in its way. So, what do I mean by a creative life? Creativity is a slippery concept. The first definition offered by Google is the use of imagination or new ideas to create something. Not only is this obviously circular, but it begs the question, what is the something that has to be created to count as creativity? For some people, it's a quality belonging to certain activities, art, culture, design. Indeed, the RSA argues strongly for the links between cultural flourishing and social and economic progress. For others, the concept of creativity can be emptied of virtue, as in creative accounting, or the job title given to people who use their undoubted talents to dream up advertising slogans. But whilst we can't all make the contribution of artists or the income of advertising executives, there's one thing to which we can all aspire: to live creative lives, lives of which we are the author, lives which allow us to be the best people we can be. What does such an aspiration mean for our opportunities and responsibilities? How does it differ from the social democratic emphasis on equality or the liberal rights on freedom? Let me give you my version. The first aspect of the creative life is individual freedom. As liberals say, as long as we're not directly inhibiting others, we should be able to think our own thoughts, use our own words, and make our own decisions. But as Amartya Sen and others have argued, creative freedom also involves resources. We talk about how savings, or educational qualifications, or time give us the freedom to pursue our choices. And we use a third idea of freedom. This refers to our capabilities, our dispositions. We talk about people being free of drugs, free of mental illness, free from a narrow or fundamentalist worldview. Do we have the knowledge, attitude, temperament to be free? Freedom makes the creative life possible, but our choices determine whether we fulfil that possibility. It's not a state that can be achieved, but a continuous process of building a life which is unique and meaningful. Chinese artist Ai Weiwei says, "Creativity is the power to act." So, prizing creativity means honouring the individual, but we must never imagine that a creative life can be realised apart from our existence as social beings. As Richard Rorty has written, "We are only individuals in as much as we are social. None of us has a self to be faithful to except the one which has been cobbled together in interchanges with parents, siblings, friends, enemies, churches and governments. Our creations, a business, an artistic performance, a social movement, a product, a service, an idea, simply an act of generosity, are only possible because of the people around us. It's not just individuals that we describe as being more or less creative, but organisations, places, societies. We think of creativity being the fount of high culture, but culture, in the broader sense of the values, expectations and norms that pervade state, market and community, are critical determinants of a society's creative capacity. To see the creative life as a substantive virtue urges our commitment to a society in which this life is realistically attainable, not just for ourselves, but for our fellow citizens. And the power to create combines an idealistic view of human flourishing with democratic inclusiveness. As Roberto Ungar said last year on this stage, the true goal of progressives must be now, as it was in the 19th century, a larger life for the ordinary man and woman. Yet from Aristotle to the Victorians, philosophers and social commentators, with an ambitious, high-minded idea of the good life well lived, have also tended to be elitists, assuming that such an ideal was beyond the capabilities of the masses. But all human beings have the capacity to be the authors of their own lives. Meaning-making is what marks us out as a species. We are born with the muscles for creativity, muscles that grow with the exercise of self-determination. In short, the power to create asserts that all citizens can and should live creative lives. So this is our vision. Is there any reason to believe the power to create is anything other than a distant aspiration, a star to navigate by, but not yet a road to follow? We believe that there is. We believe we're reaching a tipping point at which the possibility of and the need for a creative citizenry looms before us and presents us with urgent choices. This moment of inflection is the result of a set of interconnected changes leading to a step change in both the demand for and supply of creativity in modern society. The first changes are around human capability and appetite. In all our breastbeating about the failings of our education system, we can forget just how much more educated today's citizens are. In less than 2 generations, we've gone from under 10% to almost half of young people experiencing higher education. We might lag behind other countries in some areas, but our young people are among the best in the world when it comes to problem solving. Despite the many pressures they face, today's young people are critiquing narrow materialism in arguably a more nuanced and concrete way than their grandparents attempted in the 60s. RSA research shows more young people than ever before wanting the autonomy of owning their own business, even though the returns and security are often lower than a traditional job. Among those opting for employment, a growing proportion say they make decisions influenced by the values and ethical practices of employers. And as consumers too, young people are at the forefront of an emerging sharing economy. More broadly, a set of intertwined factors including rising affluence, a decline in the importance of tradition and deference, exposure of modern citizens through travel, immigration and the media to different cultures are all leading to more people in the developed world aspiring to what the World Values Survey calls self-expression. Technology is the second great engine of change. In its wake, many barriers to creative expression and enterprise have come tumbling down. The internet has led to a quantum leap in affordable, easy access to key tools of creativity, learning, communicating, trading, collaborating. Its pioneers thought the World Wide Web would be primarily a tool for the exchange of information amongst experts. But when the financial and other costs of generating and sharing content started to fall, a massive global appetite was revealed. In music, films, photographs, blogs, apps, social networks, hundreds of millions of people generating content, the overwhelming majority of it for free. Following in the footsteps of pioneers like Wikipedia and Linux, again and again the creation of new, free or inexpensive, easy-to-use platforms have released waves of human creativity, entrepreneurial aspiration, collaborative endeavour. Peer-to-peer and sharing economy platforms, whether social enterprises like FreeCycle and Streetbank or commercial like Airbnb, enable anyone to trade or exchange, blurring the boundaries between buyer and seller, profit-making and sharing. And human trust and reciprocity is as important as digital algorithms to the success of these platforms. Now, in our wonderment at the pace of innovation, we must resist technological determinism. The internet of invention and cultural self-expression is also the internet of porn, hate and trivia. Technology can and is sometimes used to reduce autonomy and dull creativity. Indeed, as technology becomes ever more central to our identities, we need to have a much more explicitly political debate about who controls it and for what purpose. Nevertheless, in aggregate, across a wide spectrum of human activity, greater creativity is being enabled and encouraged. The network economics are exponential. The demand for creativity